Hello and welcome everyone to the Beacon of Light podcast. Tonight it is our favorite things. This is day 8 and I have invited a wonderful, amazing human being, John Michael Lander, and we are going to see what he has to share with us tonight. I'm telling you what, this is going to be something that might blow your mind a little bit. You guys ready? You ready out there? Let's punch it.
I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts now.
And we are back. Welcome, everybody. Please put down where you're from. As you can see here, I have John Michael Lander, and he understands the long-term impacts about what happens with this. This is a sign for negative. And when we are negative, like self-talking, anyone ever done that out there before? Show of hands, drop a comment. Negative talk, negative, put a minus sign up there, but not for long. Not for long, right? Right? We want to see something change over. But if you have that connection with some negativity, I mean, I think everyone's hand should be raised, at least if you're honest with yourself, because that is part of our lives, right? It's part of that idea. And I labeled mine the shame shadow because he's constantly there following me everywhere I go. But the shadow is cast behind me because I'm facing the light. Now, beforehand, I would more like to look in that shadowy place. Poor me, oh no, how sad. But deeper than that, you guys get the concept. When I realized that the light was always shining on me and I just had to, oh, look at that. Just look over there into that light. It was like, oh, well, as simple as it sounds, it was hard to do because this was a more comfortable place. Now, notice I didn't say it was a healthy place. But it was a comfortable place back there. So, my amazing friend, John Michael Lander, has some information for us this evening. So, John, hey, there's Miss Kathy. Thanks so much for popping in here, Kathy. I hope your puppy is feeling, well, grand puppy is feeling better. I know. We have that puppy connection. Whew. Praying for you and for puppy. So, welcome everybody. This negative self-talk. John, when did yours kind of start?
Well, I think that I started to recognize that it was actually there just a couple months ago. And I think that it actually started after that I suffered when I was 15 through high school from my diving coaches, examiners, and the sponsors who helped our team. And so lately I've just been thinking about, what does all this mean? Finding out that you have this negative self-talk and where does it extend to? And I started realizing that the negative self-talk is festering within yourself. And then that starts to create inflammation within your body. And then if you don't take care of it and heal it and identify it and locate it, it can go into diseases. And I started realizing that maybe the connection to all of these things. And I wanted to change that. And I wanted to find a way to do that. And so I discovered that if I started to ease my inflammation, then I would have the energy and the strength to start looking at the negative self-talk. Because when I wasn't feeling well, I didn't care about all the positive stuff around me. I mean, I could say like, if you were sending me these positive messages, so when Kathy was there, all sending me these positive things when I was in this really bad place, I was not feeling well, so I couldn't hear it. And hey, that ugly place. As research has found is that when we get trapped in this negative self-talk that we have, things like and we will constantly rebuild on it every single day. Like it will become like the circular thing happening every day, and we constantly will repeat and repeat. And what we repeat, we become. So that's when I started to think, okay, how do I fix this? And one of the things that I started to do is I knew that my diet wasn't right. And I knew that there were problems with that. And so I had a dear friend who, Carol Molchi, represented on. And so she reintroduced it to me. She says, you might want to try this just one more time. So I went back and I did the 30 days healthy living. And all of a sudden, I started to feel an ease in the inflammation. My gut started to feel much better. And so what she told me was the fact that the Arbonne products will help your body create an alkaline state. And when you're in an alkaline state, your body starts to balance. That happens, the inflammation starts to ease. And so when this happens, then you can start doing things. And then I started to look at where the negative self-talk came from. And I realized it was my way of surviving those sexual abuse traumas that I experienced when I was 15, 16, 17, and 18. And I started to try to convince myself to understand what those events were. And in order to do that, so that my mind could wrap around it, I would start saying things like, well, it happened because I'm not worthy. It happened because I'm sinful. It happened because I did something wrong to God. God's punishing me. And it's my fault. It was never anybody else's fault. And so I believed that because I repeatedly told myself this over and over and over again, that I became that. And so I couldn't help, or I chose not to get help. Let's make sure I use the right words. And then by not getting the help that I needed, I started to bury these feelings. So the feelings just festered and created inflammation. And then, about 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with Crohn's, which is not a part of my family. Now I think my body started to process it, trying to get my attention. So I started to go back and start looking at how I would say things to myself. Like I started doing a lot of meditation, actually, and just I created these untruths in my mind, and started to see that I was able to. It's not an overnight thing. It's part of this process that we need the rest of our lives of healing. But I started to see changes. I started to listen to recordings, and I started to hear myself and re-say things when I would catch myself saying something negative, like, "Oh, I'm tired today," and then I would find myself saying, "How do I change that?" I have a lot of energy. I can fix this. And so that started happening. And then that really cool thing started to happen as I continued the diet and the Arbonne. I started to learn that my dreams, I started to hear myself say, you can handle this. You can do this. You do it all along. You chose not to, or you told yourself you weren't able to do it. And so then I just started to use the affirmations and reconfigure my thoughts, and it's a slow process. But I do believe that we can reconfigure our brains. Trauma happens, our brains start to reconfigure themselves because if they didn't, we would be able to survive. If our brains were not able to reconfigure the synapses, in order to what Dr. Harper talks about, is that it's our way that we create our salvation. Because otherwise, our brain would not. And so our way to protect ourselves, it's a way to survive. And when we realize that, like you had said earlier, you start to be feeling comfortable. You start feeling comfortable in that space, that negative space, because that's what you know. And I keep telling myself, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy. That space stays there. And that's where I will go to. If something triggers me, I go back to that negative space because that's what I'm comfortable with. That's what I know. And that's why I think when we try change, if we not go back and acknowledge, recognize, and change what we think, we will repeat those over and over again. So
that is so true.
That's what we're doing. And I'm so excited about the Arbonne because it helped and it tastes great.
That's great. I love the idea that sometimes I think noticing and recognizing this and then being honest with yourself, saying, okay, here I am surrounded by light, by positivity, by positive affirmations, by all of these good things. It doesn't matter. I can't feel it, hear it, accept it in because I'm so inflamed on the inside. I need to have one part at least take a break.
Right.
And then maybe these other things can start to come in. The concept of that is really powerful because it can happen both ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the positivity starts to come in and then we realize, oh my gosh, this is awesome, but I can see how far I am and I'm in so much pain or inflammation. I need something else to support it. Your journey was, I'm inflamed. I need to get this calmed down so then I can go over here and gather it in. And the way, the I would say the entryway doesn't matter. The point is both support each other. And we get one physical body, right? One. I don't know anyone out there who got a second one, but I'm pretty sure we all get one. And with our one, with the spirit that we have within us, I feel that everything is spiritually created. I mean, from a rock to our pets to people to even trees, grasses, plants, everything. There is a spiritual awareness and understanding within it. That's what I believe. With that being said, as we take things into our bodies, right? They can heal us, they can help us, or they could harm us, right? Just depends. Same idea. If we're having this coming in, whoo, that's going to be a lot better place than this all of the time. And to be very real, I know all of us have a piece of the negativity that pops up, but I love what you said, Michael, John Michael. The idea is that you started to realize the choice within that. And finally, I'm sure, I just call him Mr. Positive. I'm sure your Mr. Positive within you was like, finally, I can finally start to tell him these things and
Finally.
he can listen. Finally. He's been down there so long, like, come on, I got this whole bag of positivity to give you. And when that other part comes down, like you said, I love that you said within your dreams, the dreaming part of things, that's a very safe place to then, okay, finally we have an in. Throw out the positivity
Right.
there. And really, that positive support has been there the entire time. Otherwise, you couldn't have survived. You could not have survived. So it's the recognizing and noticing kind of that yin and yang, right? Those two between, that when we see the balancing of this on our awareness, when Mr. Negative pops up and Mr. Positive pops up, the choice is so much clearer. And just last week, driving after listening to a lot of incredibly challenging, better word for that, challenging information that impacts many parts of things that I touch. I remember driving and I used to have a really long commute. Now I have a 1.5 mile commute. It's fantastic.
Wow.
But that means like within 5 minutes I'm home. So I gotta reflect quick. Where before I had all this time to really poor me. But I had about the length of my school that I work at from there to the stoplight to start to make this decision. And I could feel myself saying, well, which way do you want to go? This is going
Right.
to spend your energy to not be able to do the things that are required of you when you get home. Or you can pick this way, stay within the emotion, acknowledge that it's there, feel it, and move through it. And I remember thinking, just like you're going to go through this intersection, you just go through the emotions, acknowledge that they're there, and then you can move forward with them. And I was like, okay. And I just trusted it and went through, and I'm like, ah, well, look at that. There's more of that positivity. So, John Michael,
Right.
tell us a little bit more about how you feel the airborne. Did I say that right?
Arborn?
Arbonne.
Arbonne.
Sorry.
Arbonne.
Arbonne. See, look at me.
Um,
Terrible.
Yeah, I did it. I listened to you and instead of read it right back. It's Arbonne, right?
Arbonne. How, like, what is the Well, just share a little bit about as you started to add that into your just kind of your daily routine. What did you start to notice? If it was something immediately or slowly, what did you start to notice?
I think it's like everybody, it's going to be a unique journey. For me, the first week, I started noticing it's almost like things seemed to get a little bit darker before they got lighter. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I feel the inflammation seemed to get more inflamed for a moment. And at the end of the week, it all just like after the third day, it was like, where's this release? This like, exhale. And I started feeling my body to react differently. And I started noticing things, hearing things better, but my stomach wasn't hurting. And I was really excited because it's been a while. It's been a long time that I didn't have this gut issue. And it's just the way that the products work, and they work with your body because they're all natural. There are no chemicals. They're all botanical, which to me is amazing because I have so many of these allergy issues with food. And it leads you through, they give you all of what to eat and what to stay away from because there are certain foods that will actually trigger the inflammation. We want to stay away from those. But then they also show you rest community that to help you through it. And that's the big positive thing about it is the positivity within that community because they all want you to succeed. I want you to get as healthy as you can. And it's not about anything. It's about share your passion, share what's happening with your body. And inside this process, I lost 15 pounds since I started. So it's been about a month now. And I just I get started, I get tied up because I want everyone to know that this works for me. I'm sure other things out there that other people can find that work for them. This is what's working for me. And not only do they have nutrition, they also have skincare and they also have makeup. And they're all very, very protected by the banned substances, so like Olympic athletes, which was another thing that drew me to it. He was preparing for the Olympics, Casey's. And as we saw with one of our U.S. figure skaters, she was banned for 8 months for failing the test. I couldn't figure out what it was until they slowly started taking away. They found out it was in her makeup that she was using. She is now running for the Olympics. Hopefully she'll represent us in Paris figure skating. But it took 8 months for her to figure out what this was. So this is it blows my mind that this is a possibility that can help everyone. And I also know I think it can help survivors because of the fact that we have such our own negative self that we've been telling ourselves for years because we're trying to understand the events that happen. But I'll make sure that everybody knows that we are conditioned and groomed from the time we're born. And, by the people does. And if our parents had told us this is the law, the cards God gave you, this is what you'll be the rest of your life. That's coming from parents. That's not necessarily true. I believe that God wants the best for everyone, and I think we have to change our thought processes. And if you can help remove your inflammation, you can go back and work with anybody and go through and show them how I changed my negative self-talk. I'm still doing it, and I'm proud because if something triggers me, that's the place I go back to. Is that security? Because that's what I know, and that's what I've lived for all years. But I want to say, like, over 60,000 thoughts that go through our day, and 77% of the thoughts are negative from our society. So we have to be on guard all the time.
It's exhausting.
There you go. And Arbonne's been around for over 40 years. From what I've learned, they're well established. They're gluten free. They don't test on animals. So please check out the website because you'll find things that are amazing. They're kosher. They they reach out to all these who want to make sure that they're doing well. So I'm excited to share that with you. And if he's interested and they purchase the Healthy Living or with their lines, let me know, and I'll send you an audiobook of mine to you for doing this.
Wow, what a gift. What an incredible opportunity. And thinking about, I think many of us in this holiday time, we have past memories, positive or negative, that could really trigger or amplify something. And if you were protected and understood how that your body physically and spiritually could respond to something, maybe, and like what John figured out with taking down the inflammation and then opening which naturally opened himself up to more positivity, which is probably already there on that baseline support anyway, but now we could hear it and start to accept it. Wouldn't that be an incredible way to start a practice towards the end of November through December so that you're ready in January, right? Why wait? Sometimes we get this idea of like, okay, there's the goal. Okay, good, but why not start with some of the steps prior to? And as you start to feel better, suddenly you're like, oh, now I can really add to the goals that I wanted because I'm not waiting for the day when this happens, then when this, then, right? So starting sooner than later allows you to be really ready for the new year. I love that what you said there, Miss Kathy. Yeah, the new you for the new year. And so this opportunity that John Michael is giving here, he's sharing his own, testimonial about what happened for his life. And I find it really, really fascinating, the awareness of the negative self-talk was just a few months ago. That kind of blows my mind because I think that identification and labeling of it, and now with this product, understanding what can happen within your life and your body and your spirit, and now you're like, oh, hey, I have an answer that helped me, and if you need any support, here's another opportunity to take and add to what you have. And I love that
Right.
you're really identifying survivors of trauma with this because there is more support that many of us usually need. And it is interesting how allergies are a part of something, or, inflammation or autoimmune disease usually happen, and you can trace back a trauma, an event, chronic abuse, something like that has been taken in or hidden, right, for so long that the body's like, I got to put it somewhere. It's going
Right.
here, or and it impacts us. So why not allow the freedom and release to have some more light as well as great nutrition impact so that you can have the new you for the new year. I mean, incredible opportunity, incredible. So,
Right. And I just want to make sure I thank you and Kathy for sure, because I know Kathy's on here and I hope she's listening to this. He told me that God never left me. He had always been there, and that positive inside of me was always there. I was pushing it down because I was worthy of listening to that. And I listened to it many times during this last 2 months. And so even during the events, God never left me. I mean, I survived because of that positiveness that He gave to me. And when I think back to when those events were happening, I didn't know alone in that spiritual world. And that's where I usually would go, but I never understood what it meant. And it's just crazy. I'm sorry day now because I'm able to release this negative side of me and see the light. You're looking at the light was always there, but I was living in that spot. And then when I learned, and a lot of people time with this, but it becomes a choice. Like, it's not is where we have feelings for us. You know, we do a talk and people come up to you afterwards and say, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." There is knowledge I was heard at the grade, and that's what I think we came to release that old belief that we have of ourselves, because that's the attention that we didn't get back then. And I think now that I'm realizing that the real work is going in towards the light and talking and focusing over here and sharing the light and the positiveness, opposed to, you know, feeling sorry for myself. So it's I want to thank you both, because the two of you and plus Cecilia were very patient with me, especially these last couple of months. So thank you.
You're welcome. What a beautiful thing to say. I mean, wow. I'll tell you what. Probably personal. Who cares who's listening? Right, Kathy? Right, Pam? The idea that all have felt worthless, but we are never worth less. You are alive, period. You have value. And that shift in my mind, when I started to look at many aspects of things, wow, the idea of understanding how to love another, empathize more deeply, and to learn that it's really not what I have to decide about this. Doesn't matter, it's not my choice. What I can do is choose to keep powering things on unconditionally. That opportunity is there. And as we start to learn that it's not about conditional, oh, well, John Michael, he's not getting it, so I'm not going to share more light with him. No, no, no more light. No more light. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Just keep going. And the idea with the patience, of course, because the timing is your timing. The timing would be my timing. Doesn't matter. There's never one place where it says wait until it's the perfect time to start. Like you said at the beginning, this idea and offering with it being November, don't wait until January. Okay, with the tradition of starting everything, just start now and see what can start to happen so that you are ready. So it's great. Kathy says, letting go of the negative self-talks allows space for our worth and values to rise. And that, I really felt that tonight. Kathy, you are so right on that. And it is true. We feel worthless, but we are never worth less. That's exactly right. Exactly right. So, John Michael, thank you so much for being a part of this evening. And I feel like we need to bring you back in towards the end of December and just kind of check on things and see how things are going. We'll just have our own little chit chat going on here and seeing if more people can have the opportunity.
Right, and thank you so much for doing this. This is helping so many people. This whole little project you have, it's not a little project; it's a huge project, and you're affecting so many lives. So thank you for that.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Pam, you said certainly that you can relate to the negative self-talk, still giving myself grace and compassion to change that around. Yes, every day, every day, every day. Sorry, gonna break down to Annie now. Sun will come out tomorrow, right? You always have a brand new day. Every day, every day, every day. So don't live in the shame of yesterday. Live in the light of today. And it is there, even if it is just a pinpoint. It's fine. It's totally there. You guys, thank you so much for being a part of this. Go to the blog. We will drop down more of the links down here after we end this broadcast. And just thank you, everybody. And oh, I love it. Pam says, bring him back at the end of December. Okay.
Thank you, Pam.
We're going to do that. We're going to do that. Because I just love to see the light that you have, and now you recognize it. That is cool.
Wow.
No tissues. I think I have an apron over here. So that is what all this is about. The amplifying of each one another's light. So thank you, John Michael, for the opportunity to serve and to love. And wow, work through the emotion. It's a beautiful place. I'm just so happy that you have found such great things and answers for yourself. Thank you for never quitting on your journey. Thank you. With all of that said, before my nose starts running, because that ain't pretty, we're going to close it off. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this, and we will see you soon. Bye, everybody. Good night.
Good night.